From the Beatles, Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin through punk, indie and pop's electro and Brit, Britain has produced a whole lot of classic music for such a small nation. But I'm not here to talk about those over-talked about bands and artists. They are great, no question. But what can I add to the conversation about Yesterday, Satisfaction, Stairway to Heaven, God Save the Queen or Bohemian Rhapsody? These songs have been canonised as British standards. There's nothing more to add. This series is going to delve into the stories of classic British songs that are slightly less well known, while looking at all the multiple facets and sounds of British music from the last 60 years. This is retroactively part 3, as I previously looked at Ever Fall in Love by Buzzcocks and How Soon Is Now by The Smiths. Now for a British song that isn't a question. Influence is a strange thing. Just because a band is influential doesn't mean that the band is known because of their influence. People know Radiohead's OK Computer changed things. People are less aware of Massive Attack's Blue Lines and its aura of influence. Formed in Bristol in the late 80s, they made it so dance music didn't have to be all about speed, that it could be emotive and chilled. They made serious moves to make hip-hop outside the US a legitimate thing. And most importantly, it made it so hip-hop as a whole could seek to be more introspective in its ideas rather than party hard or political. While overall Massive Attack are more well known for their 98 song, Teardrop, their most important single was 91's Unfinished Sympathy. While its unusual structure and genre fusion are elements that get critics interested, its emotional resonance, its heartbroken vocal, and those sweeping strings have made it resound with listeners since its release. But how did a bunch of, in their words, lazy Bristol twats create one of the most innovative songs of the 90s? How did one band change the course of 2 separate genres, and by chance create a completely new one? This is the story of Unfinished Sympathy. What eventually became Massive Attack was a Bristol-based sound system called the Wild Bunch, formed in the early 80s. A posse of like-minded individuals, musicians, artists, filmmakers, and other creative types that would work within the same space, bouncing ideas and sharing resources with each other. The Wild Bunch consisted of MC Adrian Force, aka Tricky, the graphic artist and lyricist Robert Donaja, or 3D, and DJs Nelly Hooper, Andrew Mushroom Vowles, and Grant Daddy G Marshall. When the Wild Bunch dissolved in 1987, Hooper left to record with the influential Soul II Soul. 3D, Daddy G and Mushroom would coalesce into Massive Attack, with Tricky and various other Bristol-based musicians dropping in and out when needed. After their first single, Any Love, was released in '88, Massive Attack signed to Circa, a subsidiary of Virgin Records, thanks to Swedish-born musician Neneh Cherry. She took the group under her wing, having previously worked with the Wild Bunch and referenced them in her worldwide hit, Buffalo Stance. Looking good, hanging with the Wild Bunch, looking good in a Buffalo Stance. DJ Mushroom also makes an appearance in the music video. In turn, 3D wrote the lyrics for her top 5 UK hit, Manchild. With its mournful strings and hip-hop beats, sounding like a proto-Unfinished Sympathy. She paid the key members of Massive Attack a monthly wage so they could focus and finish their debut album. The recording of Blue Lines would start in 1990 and would take about 8 months. Daddy G told The Observer in 2004, "We were lazy Bristol twats. It was Neneh Cherry who kicked our asses and got us in the studio. We recorded a lot at her house, in her baby's room. I was still DJing, but what we were trying to do was create dance music for the head rather than the feet." They took influence from post-punk, reggae, soul and US hip-hop, but also the British dance of Soul II Soul and the genre-bending style of Cherry's Raw Like Sushi. This anything goes approach would mark them out from the rest of early 90s dance, its slow stone grooves being the opposite of the ecstasy-fueled yet predictable house music of the day. Massive Attack's quest to being more than run-of-the-mill dance was most significantly shown on Blue Line's second single, Unfinished Sympathy. On vocals on the track is Shara Nelson, who had previously appeared on the Wild Bunches cover of Burt Bacharach's The Look of Love. The initial spark of Unfinished Sympathy was created from a melody Nelson was toying with. We were working on a track called It Will Rain, and bits of this other melody came into my mind. I couldn't shake it, so I took a break from recording, had a cup of tea, and stood in the corner and started singing it to myself to see if I could piece it together. Her working title for the song was Kiss and Tell, but the band preferred something more abstract and dubbed the new piece Unfinished Sympathy, an apparent play on Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. Massive Attack have stated it was a deconstruction exercise, editing the track until only the most essential elements remained. The backbeat consists of two elements. First, the beat, which is sampled from J.J. Johnson's The Parade Strut, off the soundtrack from 70s blaxploitation film Willie Dynamite. This is augmented with bell-like percussion, inspired by Bob James's Take Me to the Mardi Gras. A song previously sampled by Run DMC on Peter Piper. The last actual sample is a vocal sample, the Hey Hey Hey, that can be confused as merely a vocal ad-lib by Nelson, but is in fact taken from Mahavishnu Orchestra's Planetary Citizen. Note that Unfinished Sympathy has neither a traditional bass line nor a chorus. What it has instead is an ever-mounting orchestra swell, recorded live by a 40-piece orchestra in London's Abbey Road Studios, conducted by Will Malone. Despite writing the strings composition, Malone does not have a songwriting credit on the track. Originally, they had tried to fill the gaps with synthesized strings. The synth sounded too tacky, so we thought we may as well use real strings. The orchestra definitely changed the feeling of the song, making it heavier and deeper, with more feeling. They were really good, but it took them about 5 takes to do it, because they were slightly behind the beat. The strings recording was not in the album's budget, so the group had to sell their Mitsubishi Shogun to recoup the cost. The lyrics are loose. With a narrative being hard to surmise, listeners can interpret whatever they want to the song. But most interpretations come down to some form of heartache, some misunderstanding between Nelson's protagonist and her lover. It doesn't have a chorus, where a song would usually refine its message into a repeated statement of intent. The song, as its title suggests, is unfinished. The orchestral swell that ends the song is in a way an ellipsis, a ... When you're in the midst of a relationship issue, you don't know how it's gonna go. It could be fine, it could be the end. The completed Unfinished Sympathy sounded like nothing else in the dance and hip hop genre up to this point. As NME put it in their 1991 review of Blue Lines, Unfinished Sympathy drowns you in string-laden emotion, or coming on like in a meeting between Latter Day Joy Division and Soul to Soul. What is almost as iconic as the song itself is the music video that accompanied it. Rather than staying in Bristol, the group shot the video in Los Angeles due to the dank, rain-soaked Britain not having the golden sunshine that would make the video look the way it does. Directed by Bailey Walsh, who was tasked with creating videos for the whole of the Blue Line cycle, Unfinished Sympathy's clip follows Nelson walking down West Pico Boulevard, oblivious to her surroundings.
The idea was about kind of, it was very personal in the sense of that thing where you walk down a road and someone's hurt you or you're obsessed with something and you don't notice anything from the moment you kind of set off. So that was the kind of idea. I just wanted this unbroken thought, really, which is why it became one take.
While one-shots had been used throughout the history of cinema, rarely had they been utilised in music video. Dan Neese was the Steadicam operator on the shoot, best known for his work on Blue Velvet. He did the sequence 6 times before being too exhausted to do a 7th. The one-shot nature of the clip and Nelson's presence front and centre makes it so the video reveals new details on each new viewing. For example, the amputee on the skateboard, the dog with sunglasses, and the kissing couple that Nelson is visibly upset by. The rest of Massive Attack are peppered throughout the video, at various points following behind her, albeit out of focus. The video has influenced others, including The Verve's Bittersweet Symphony, itself a play on Massive Attack's song title. Due to the Gulf War happening at the same time, the band chose to remove Attack from their name for this single, believing it might be too violent and could possibly scupper the chances of getting radio airplay. Still, despite their temporary name change, the band were an oddity. Their previous single, Daydreaming, had featured rapping with regional British accents, something that had not been a thing in hip-hop before.
Trouble in strife, ain't no sunshine in my life. Wise guys get protection when they carry a knife.
We were literally talking in our colloquial Bristol accents, you know, which was kind of, at first it was like kind of, bloody hell, listen to those guys.
Unfinished Sympathy, with its more soul vocal, made more sense as a pop single, but still had elements of hip-hop and dance. Music critic Simon Reynolds had said that Blue Lines made a definite change for dance and electronic music, a shift towards a more interior and meditational sound. The songs on Blue Lines run at spliff tempos, from a mellow moonwalking 90 beats per minute down to a positively torpid 67 BPM. The track reached number 13 in the UK charts. Unfinished Sympathy and its album Blue Lines quickly became touchstones for this new Bristol sound. This became known as trip-hop, a term first used in print by Andy Pemberton in an article in Mixmag in '94. He described it thusly: "This is trip-hop, a deft fusion of head-nodding beats, super fat bass, and an obsessive attention to the kind of otherworldly sounds usually found on acid house records." While he mentions the Dust Brothers and DJ Shadow in his piece, Massive Attack were the basis for this sound, or at least the first group to combine these elements. Later, one of the many Bristol-based musicians that was helping with the recording of Blue Lines, Jeff Barrow, formed Trip Hoppers Portishead and released the landmark Dummy in '94.
Nobody loves me, it's true.
Björk was also inspired by Massive Attack's sound, both on debut and more intensely on post. So much so that Nelly Hooper and Tricky helped with production duties. Her most unfinished Sympathy sounding track was Play Dead, filled with sweeping strings and slow sampled hip-hop beats. Fatboy Slim, wanting to write a dance track that could endure, was inspired to create Right Here, Right Now based on the Massive Attack song. I was like, what is it about that tune that makes it so much more emotive and gives it greater depth than most dance music? I listened to it again and was like, it's the strings. It's the strings what done it. I wanted to do something that would last a bit longer than the throwaway stuff I was doing, and the strings was the thing. Radiohead, TV on the Radio, and Uncle have also stated Massive Attack's massive importance. As well, Kanye West's 808s and Heartbreak has its origin here. It could even be said that any hip-hop artist that the adjective chill can be applied owe a debt to Massive Attack. Even this girl. And while innovation and influence is one side of the music criticism coin, Unfinished Sympathy's bittersweet synthesis of cold mechanical beats and warm human orchestration and vocals made people feel on the dance floor. As groundbreaking and exciting as Ride on Time and Pump Up the Volume had been, they meant nothing lyrically, never conveyed emotion beyond party. As BBC Music stated in 2004, Unfinished Sympathy is one of the most moving pieces of dance music ever, able to soften hearts and excite minds just as keenly as a ballad by Bacharach or a melody by McCartney. That's what Massive Attack brought to the table, and their legion of followers is a testament to how much people were missing that human element within dance music. Ultimately, listeners needed that sympathy, finished or otherwise. Thanks for watching. What do you think about the new series? What tracks do you think need their own episode? If you liked the video, like, comment and subscribe. If you really like my stuff and like it appearing on your subscribe feed on a semi-regular basis, why not check out my Patreon? There's loads of cool rewards like watching new videos early and exclusive content. I'd like to shout out my patrons, including my new top tier donor, Gary Budden. Thanks a bunch. See you next time.